Jake Morrison stood on the balcony of the governor's office and stared at the sky. The ships hung there like dark clouds, blocking out the sun. There were so many of them. Too many. He counted 15 large warships and dozens of smaller ones. They had arrived 3 hours ago without warning. His communicator buzzed. Emma Blake's voice came through, tense and worried. "Jake, they're requesting to speak with you again. The one who calls himself Admiral Zexthor." Jake took a deep breath. "Put him through." The holographic display flickered to life. The alien appeared before him. Zexthor stood tall, maybe 8 feet if he were on the ground. His skin was gray and smooth, like polished stone. 4 eyes sat across his wide face, all of them fixed on Jake. The Admiral wore armor that gleamed in dark purple. "Governor Morrison," Zexthor said. His voice came out in a low rumble. The translator device made it sound almost human, but not quite. "Have you considered our terms?" Jake kept his face neutral. He had been a diplomat on Earth before coming to New Haven. He knew how to hide his fear. "Admiral, this planet has been our home for 12 years. We've built farms, schools, hospitals. We have 12,000 people here, families, children. You're asking us to abandon everything." "We are not asking," Zexthor replied. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "This world sits in territory that belonged to the Krellian Empire 3,000 years ago. Our ancestors walked this ground. Your presence here is illegal." "We had no way of knowing that," Jake said carefully. "The planet showed no signs of previous habitation, no structures, no technology, nothing. We followed all protocols for colonization." Zexthor's mandibles clicked together, a sound the translator didn't bother to interpret. "Your ignorance does not change reality. This is Krellian space. You will leave or you will be removed." Jake felt his stomach drop. "We need time. We can't evacuate 12,000 people in a few days. We don't have enough ships. Please be reasonable." "You have 48 hours, Zexthor said flatly. "After that, we will begin removal operations. This conversation is over." The hologram vanished. Jake stood alone on the balcony, his hands gripping the railing. Below him, the colony stretched out in neat rows. Green fields surrounded small houses. In the distance, children played in a park. They had no idea what was coming. Emma burst onto the balcony. She was a tall woman with short red hair and sharp eyes. Before becoming security chief, she had been a soldier. "Jake, I've been running the numbers. We have 6 transport ships. Each one can carry maybe 400 people if we pack them tight. That's only 2,400 per trip. We'd need at least 3 trips to get everyone out, and each trip takes 12 hours. "So we can't do it," Jake said quietly. "Not in 48 hours, not even close." Emma's jaw tightened. "And that's assuming the transports don't break down and everyone cooperates perfectly." Jake pulled out his personal comm unit. "I'm sending a message to Earth Command. Emergency protocol." "They're 6 weeks away at best," Emma said. "Even with the fastest ships." "I know." Jake started recording. "This is Governor Jake Morrison of New Haven Colony. We are under threat from an alien force calling themselves the Krellian Empire. They have given us 48 hours to evacuate before they begin what they call removal operations. We have 12,000 civilians and inadequate transport, requesting immediate assistance. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." He sent the message through the colony's long-range transmitter. It would bounce through relay stations for weeks before reaching Earth. By then, everything might be over. A bright flash lit up the sky. Jake and Emma looked up. One of the orbital stations, an unmanned facility used for weather monitoring, exploded in silence. Debris scattered in all directions, glowing as it burned. Emma's communicator erupted with panicked voices. She listened for a moment, then looked at Jake with hard eyes. "They just blew up Station 7. No warning. It was empty, but still." "They're showing us what they can do," Jake said. His voice sounded hollow even to himself. Down in the colony, people were starting to notice. The explosion had been visible from the ground. Crowds gathered in the streets, pointing at the sky. Fear spread like wildfire. Parents grabbed their children and ran for their homes. Jake's communicator buzzed again. This time it wasn't Zexathor. Another alien appeared on the screen, broader and more heavily armored. His face was scarred, and his eyes held no warmth. "I am General Varkesh," the alien announced, "commander of the Krellian ground forces. I suggest you begin your evacuation immediately. The Admiral is being generous with 48 hours. "I would have given you 4. The communication cut off before Jake could respond. Emma was already moving. "I'm activating the emergency protocols. We'll start with the children and elderly. Priority evacuation." "Get everyone you can on those transports," Jake said. "I'll make an announcement. Try to keep people calm." But he knew calm was impossible now. The aliens had made their intentions clear. They would destroy the orbital station today. What would they destroy tomorrow? Jake walked inside to address his people, knowing that many of them would not survive the week. He had failed them. He had brought them to this beautiful world thinking they would be safe. Now he would have to tell them they had to leave behind everything they had built or face destruction from the sky. The countdown had begun. The evacuation was a nightmare. Lisa Chen had been flying shuttles for 8 years, but she had never seen anything like this. People crowded the landing pads with whatever they could carry. Children cried. Old people struggled with bags. Everyone wanted on the next transport. "Please, my daughter is already on a ship," a man shouted at her. "I need to be with her." "You'll get on the next one," Lisa promised, though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. "I promise." She lifted off with 200 people crammed into a shuttle designed for 100. The ship groaned under the weight. Lisa whispered a prayer as she climbed toward the waiting transport ship in orbit. She had made 4 runs already. Her hands ached from gripping the controls. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep. In the forests outside the main colony, Ben Carter watched the sky. He was a farmer. Had been his whole life. His hands were rough from working the soil. Now those same hands held a rifle. Emma Blake had asked for volunteers to help with security during the evacuation. Ben had signed up immediately. "Movement on the eastern ridge," someone said over the radio. Ben raised his binoculars. Nothing. Just trees and rocks. Then he saw them. Figures in dark armor moving through the forest. They weren't human. "Contact," Ben whispered into his radio. "We have Krellians on the ground. Eastern sector. They're heading toward Settlement 3. Settlement 3 was small, just 200 people. Mostly families who preferred the quiet life away from the main colony. Ben's neighbors lived there. Good people. He had shared meals with them, helped build their homes. "Fall back to defensive positions," Emma's voice ordered through the radio. "Do not engage unless fired upon." But Ben couldn't fall back. Settlement 3 had no walls, no defenses, just homes and people. He started running. The Krellian strike team moved fast. Commander Shalrex led his soldiers through the human settlement with practiced efficiency. His orders were clear: demonstrate force. Make the humans understand that the Krellian Empire did not make empty threats. General Varkesh had been frustrated with the slow evacuation. "They move like sick animals," he had complained. "Give them motivation." Shalrex didn't question orders. He was a soldier. He followed commands. His team spread out through Settlement 3, weapons raised. Humans ran. Some screamed. One man tried to protect his family with a farming tool. Foolish. Shalrex gave the order. His soldiers opened fire. Lisa was halfway to orbit when the emergency broadcast hit every frequency. Emma Blake's voice, raw with horror. "All units, Settlement 3 is under attack. Repeat, civilians are under attack. All available security to Settlement 3 immediately." Lisa's heart stopped. Her sister lived in Settlement 3. She banked the shuttle hard, ignoring the protests from her passengers. "Emergency descent," she announced. Hold on! The shuttle screamed back through the atmosphere. Lisa pushed the engines past safety limits. The hull temperature rose into the red zone. She didn't care. Her sister was down there. Her sister and her 2 little nephews. She saw the smoke before she saw the settlement. Black columns rising from burning homes. Lisa brought the shuttle down fast and hard, landing with a crash that shattered the landing gear. She didn't stop. She ran out toward the smoke. Bodies lay in the streets. Humans cut down as they tried to flee. Lisa recognized some faces. Old Mr. Peterson who grew tomatoes. The young couple who had just had their first baby. She found her sister behind their house, curled around 2 small forms. Lisa fell to her knees. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her hands shook as she reached out, already knowing the truth. Ben arrived with the security team 15 minutes too late. The Krellian soldiers were gone. They had done their job and left. 47 dead, 32 wounded. Most of the dead were trying to protect others. Parents shielding children. Elderly trying to buy time for the young to escape. Emma moved through the carnage with her jaw clenched. She filmed everything, every body, every burn mark, every destroyed home. Her camera captured a Krellian soldier's abandoned helmet recorder. She pulled the data chip and played it back. The footage showed Krellian soldiers laughing. One kicked over a child's toy while standing over a small body. Another made jokes about human weakness. They had enjoyed this. Emma uploaded everything to the colony's main server, then broadcasted on all frequencies. To the Krellian fleet, to any human ships that might be listening, to the message drones heading back toward Earth. She looked directly into the camera. This is what they did. This is who they are. They murdered civilians. They murdered children. Remember this. On the Krellian flagship, Admiral Zexthor received the broadcast. He watched in silence as the footage played. His 4 eyes narrowed. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of deep distress in his species. "General Varkesh," he said quietly. "Come to the bridge. Now." When the general arrived, Zexthor played the footage for him. Varkesh watched without expression. "Why?" Zexthor asked. "Why were civilian targets engaged? I gave no such order." Varkesh shrugged, a gesture he had learned from studying humans. "They were moving too slowly. I provided motivation. Now they will evacuate faster." "You violated the military code," Zexthor said, his voice rising. "Deliberate targeting of non-combatants is forbidden. This is a war crime." "War crime?" Varkesh laughed. "They are barely more than animals. They have no claim to warrior rights. This was pest control, nothing more." Zexthor stared at his general. They had served together for 20 years. He thought he knew this man. Now he saw something else, something cruel. "Get off my bridge," Zexthor ordered. "Return to your ship. We will discuss this later." After Varkesh left, Zexthor sat in his command chair and called up the human colony's information files. He needed to understand these creatures better. What he found disturbed him. Humans had a complicated relationship with warfare. They had strict rules about civilians. They considered harming non-combatants to be the worst possible crime. And their history showed something else. When their civilians were attacked, humans didn't just fight back. They became something else entirely, something terrifying. Zexthor felt the first tremor of real fear. Admiral Zexthor couldn't sleep. He kept seeing the footage, the human bodies. The small ones especially. In Krellian culture, younglings were sacred. To harm them was unthinkable. Yet General Varkesh had ordered it without hesitation. Zexthor pulled up the human database on his screen. The Krellian Empire had been observing humanity for years, gathering information. He started reading. Humans were a young species. They had only left their homeworld 200 years ago. Their technology was primitive compared to Krellian standards. They had no energy shields. Their weapons were kinetic, based on ancient principles. By every measure, they should be insignificant. But the military history section made Zexthor pause. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years. They had developed warfare into a science. They had rules, codes of conduct, the Geneva Conventions, the Hague Agreements, laws about prisoners, about civilians, about what was acceptable in war. And they had another concept, something called total war. When humans believed their civilians were threatened, they removed all restrictions. They fought with complete commitment until the enemy was destroyed. Zexthor found records of human conflicts. A place called World War II. The humans had bombed entire cities, millions dead, all because one side had started killing civilians. The retaliation had been absolute. Another file caught his attention, a place called Hiroshima. The humans had split atoms to create weapons of impossible power. They had used them when they believed it was necessary. No hesitation, no mercy. Zexthor's hands trembled as he read. These creatures looked soft. They were small, weak by Krellian standards. But they had something the Krellians didn't, a capacity for controlled rage, a willingness to do terrible things when their families were threatened. He opened a communication channel to Jake Morrison. The human governor appeared on screen. His eyes were red from crying or lack of sleep or both. His face was hard as stone. "Admiral," Jake said coldly. "Governor Morrison," Zexthor began, "I have seen the footage from Settlement 3. I want you to know that I did not authorize this action. General Varkesh acted without my knowledge or approval." "Does that matter?" Jake asked. "Your soldiers killed 47 civilians. 19 of them were children. Whether you ordered it or not, you're responsible. This is your fleet." Zexthor felt shame, an emotion he rarely experienced. In Krellian law, harming non-combatants is forbidden. "This was a crime. I will ensure those responsible face justice." Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Justice? You think that makes this better? You think a trial will bring back Lisa Chen's sister and nephews? You think it will heal this colony?" "What would you have me do?" Zexthor asked. "Leave," Jake said simply. "Take your fleet and go. Never come back." "I have my orders." "Then prepare for war," Jake said, "because that's what you'll get. We sent a distress call weeks ago. Earth Command will have received it by now. They're coming. And when they find out what you did to our civilians, may whatever gods you believe in have mercy on you." The channel closed. Zexthor sat in silence. He called up more human files. Military doctrine, response protocols. He found what he was looking for in a section labeled Rules of Engagement. Any attack on civilian populations will be met with immediate and overwhelming military response. No negotiations will be attempted. No mercy will be shown to forces that deliberately target non-combatants. Such actions will be considered acts of war against all humanity. Zexthor felt cold. He checked the timestamp on Jake Morrison's distress call. 6 weeks ago. The message would have reached Earth 3 weeks ago. That meant human military forces could already be on their way, could already be close. He called his sensor officer. "Run a full scan of the system, long range, look for anything unusual." The officer worked for several minutes. Then his face went pale. "Admiral, the automated defense buoys at the edge of the system are registering multiple contacts, large ones. They're decelerating from faster-than-light travel." "How many?" Zexthor asked, though he already knew it would be bad. 14 contacts. No, 15. 16. The officer's voice rose with each number. "Admiral, they're military-grade ships, capital-class vessels. They're broadcasting human identification codes." Zexthor stood up. "Battle stations. All ships prepare for possible engagement, but no one fires unless I give the direct order. Is that clear?" "Yes, Admiral." Zexthor walked to the observation window. In the distance, pinpricks of light appeared, ships dropping out of faster-than-light speed. They were still far away, but their mere presence changed everything. General Varkesh's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, I'm reading multiple human warships entering the system. Should we engage?" "No," Zexthor said firmly. "We hold position. We do not fire first." "They're here to fight," Varkesh argued. "We should strike while they're still organizing." "I gave you an order, General. Do not engage." Zexthor enhanced the view through the window. The human ships were taking formation. He counted them. 8 destroyers, 4 cruisers, 2 carriers that would hold fighter craft, and in the center, 1 massive vessel that could only be a dreadnought. The Krellian fleet was larger, but these human ships moved with precision. They spread out, covering attack angles, supporting each other. This wasn't a rescue mission. This was a battle fleet. A communication request came through on all frequencies. Zexthor accepted it. A human appeared on every screen in every ship of the Krellian fleet. He wore a dark blue uniform with gold markings. His hair was gray. His face was weathered, but his eyes were the most striking thing. They were completely calm and absolutely merciless. "This is Admiral Dan Foster of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. His voice was steady and cold. "You have attacked civilian populations under human protection. This is a declaration of war. You have one chance to surrender. Lower your shields. Power down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded. You have 5 minutes to comply. If you refuse, we will destroy you. There will be no further warnings. The time starts now." The communication ended. Silence filled the Krellian flagship. Every officer stared at their screens. They had expected negotiations, demands, posturing. This human had offered none of that. Just a simple choice: surrender or die. Zexthor looked at the countdown timer that had appeared on every screen. 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. He thought about General Varkesh laughing as civilians died. He thought about the human capacity for total war. He thought about the cold certainty in Admiral Foster's eyes. The decision seemed obvious. 3 minutes remained on the countdown. General Varkesh stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Talon of Victory. He watched the human fleet with contempt. They were outnumbered. His forces had 23 warships against their 16. The humans were arrogant, thinking they could issue demands. "All ships prepare to engage," Varkesh ordered. "Target their dreadnought first. Concentrated fire." His weapons officer hesitated. "Sir, Admiral Zexthor has ordered us to stand down." "Zexthor is a coward," Varkesh snapped. "I am taking command of this operation. Fire when ready." But before his order could be executed, Zexthor's voice filled every communication channel in the Krellian fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Zexthor. Stand down immediately. Power down weapons. Lower shields to 50%. That is a direct order." Varkesh slammed his fist on his command console. "Zexthor, what are you doing? We can win this fight." "No," Zexthor replied, his voice broadcast to everyone. "We cannot, and more importantly, we should not. General Varkesh, you murdered human civilians. You violated every code of military conduct. The humans have come for justice, and I intend to give it to them." On the New Haven colony, Jake Morrison watched the exchange on the emergency broadcast. Emma stood beside him. They had gathered every surviving colonist in the main square. Thousands of faces looked up at screens showing the standoff in orbit. "Is he really going to surrender?" Emma asked quietly. "The Admiral seems to understand what we are," Jake said. "The General doesn't. Not yet." In space, Admiral Foster watched the Krellian fleet. Most of the ships were powering down weapons, but 5 ships, including 1 large cruiser, remained at full combat readiness. "Sir, we have 5 ships refusing to comply," reported Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell from her position at communications. "The lead ship is broadcasting Krellian military codes. It's General Varkesh." Foster nodded slowly. Open a channel to Admiral Zexthor. Private frequency. Zexthor's face appeared on the screen. The alien looked tired, defeated. Admiral Foster, I am prepared to surrender, but General Varkesh refuses my orders. He has always been difficult, but this is mutiny. Will your other ships follow him? Foster asked. No. He has only his loyalists. 4 escort ships and his cruiser. The rest of my fleet will comply with your terms. Foster considered this. Admiral Zexthor, I've read the reports. I've seen the footage. Your general gave the order to fire on civilians. Is this correct? Yes, Zexthor said quietly. I did not authorize it. I did not know until after. But the responsibility is still mine. I am the fleet commander. Do you understand what he did? Foster asked. Do you understand what it means to us? Zexthor met Foster's eyes. I have been studying your species. I understand now. You have rules about war, about protecting the innocent. When someone breaks those rules, you respond with total force. It is not about conquest or territory. It is about justice, about sending a message that such actions will not be tolerated. Foster nodded. You're smarter than your general. That might save your life. Here's what's going to happen. You will surrender your fleet to us. We will take custody of everyone involved in the attack on Settlement 3. They will face trial under human law. Do you agree to these terms? I do, Zexthor said. Then prove it. Deal with your mutinous general. Zexthor turned to his weapons officer. Target General Varkesh's ship. Lock weapons. The officer's eyes widened. Sir, that's a Krellian vessel. Our own people. That ship contains a war criminal and traitors, Zexthor said coldly. Lock weapons. Now. But before the order could be executed, Varkesh made his move. His 5 ships broke formation and accelerated toward the human fleet. Energy weapons charged, missile tubes opened. Incoming fire, Sarah Mitchell shouted. Admiral Foster remained calm. All ships, weapons free, destroy those vessels. The human fleet moved with practiced precision. The destroyers spread out in a pattern the Krellians had never seen before. Instead of meeting the charge head-on, they scattered and attacked from angles. The cruisers provided covering fire while the fighters launched from the carriers. Varkesh's ships fired. Their weapons hit empty space where the human ships had been moments before. The humans moved too fast, too unpredictably. They didn't fight like the Krellians expected. The EDS Valiant, commanded by Captain Kyle Andrews, rolled underneath Varkesh's cruiser and fired a full spread of missiles at point-blank range. The missiles tore through the Krellian shields like they were paper. Explosions rippled across the hull. 2 of Varkesh's escort ships tried to flank the human carrier. They never made it. A human cruiser intercepted them, firing weapons that the Krellians didn't recognize. Railguns. Solid metal slugs accelerated to impossible speeds. The kinetic force shattered the first escort ship completely. The second tried to retreat but was caught by fighter craft that swarmed it like angry insects. In 4 minutes, it was over. 4 of Varkesh's ships were destroyed. His cruiser was crippled, bleeding atmosphere and drifting. The human fleet hadn't lost a single ship. A few had damage, but nothing serious. Admiral Foster opened a channel to the wreckage of Varkesh's ship. The general appeared on screen, his armor cracked, purple blood running down his face. This is impossible, Varkesh gasped. We are superior. We are stronger. No, Foster said quietly. You're not. You never were. You just thought you were because you'd never fought anyone who truly wanted to kill you. We know war, General. We've been doing it for thousands of years. We've perfected it. And you made one critical mistake. What mistake? Varkesh demanded. Foster's eyes were ice. You threatened our civilians. You killed our children. That's not just an act of war. That's a declaration that you don't deserve to exist. Remember this, General. Remember it well. Tell every species in your empire. Humans protect their own. Attack our soldiers, and we'll fight you. Attack our civilians, and we'll destroy you. Foster closed the channel and turned to his crew. Secure the prisoners. Bring them aboard for transport to trial. And someone get Admiral Zexthor on the line. We have a lot to discuss. On New Haven, the colonists watched the battle end. Silence filled the square. Then someone started clapping. Then another. Soon the entire colony was cheering, crying, holding each other. Jake Morrison looked up at the sky where the human fleet hung like guardian angels. Emma put a hand on his shoulder. "They came," she said simply. "They always do," Jake replied. "We take care of our own." The trial lasted 3 days. General Varkesh and 17 of his officers stood in a temporary courtroom built in New Haven's main hall. Human judges presided. Krellian observers watched. The galaxy paid attention. The evidence was overwhelming. Video footage, recorded orders, testimony from Varkesh's own soldiers who had participated in the attack. Some of those soldiers showed regret. Varkesh showed none. When asked if he had anything to say, the general stood tall. "I did what I believed was necessary. These humans were trespassing on Krellian territory. They refused to leave quickly enough. I provided motivation." The head judge, a woman named Patricia Cole, looked at him with disgust. "You murdered 47 innocent people, 19 children. You didn't give them a chance to surrender or flee. You simply killed them. How do you justify that?" Varkesh's mandibles clicked. They were inferior beings, not worthy of warrior consideration. The courtroom erupted in anger. Guards had to restore order. Patricia Cole waited for silence, then spoke clearly. "General Varkesh, you are found guilty of war crimes, murder, and crimes against sentient beings. The sentence is life imprisonment without possibility of release. You will spend the rest of your days in a human maximum security facility. May you have time to think about what you've done." Varkesh was led away. He never looked at the families of his victims who filled the courtroom. He never showed remorse. Admiral Zexthor attended the entire trial. He sat in the observer section, watching everything. When it was over, Jake Morrison approached him. "You didn't have to be here," Jake said. "Yes, I did," Zexthor replied. "Those were my soldiers, my responsibility. I needed to see the consequences of my failure to control them." Jake studied the alien admiral. "You tried to stop it. When you found out, you acted. That counts for something." "Does it?" Zexthor asked. 47 beings are still dead. Families destroyed. Your colony traumatized. My intentions don't change those facts." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Jake said, "Come with me. There's something you should see." Jake led Zexthor to the memorial site. It was located where Settlement 3 had been. The burned homes had been cleared away. In their place stood a garden, 47 trees planted in a circle. Each tree had a name carved on a stone at its base. Lisa Chen was there, planting flowers around 3 of the trees. She looked up as Jake and Zexthor approached. Her eyes were still red, but she managed a small smile for Jake. When she saw the Krellian admiral, her expression hardened. "Lisa, this is Admiral Zexthor," Jake said gently. "He wanted to pay his respects." Lisa stood up slowly. She looked at the tall alien. "You're the one who commanded the fleet." "Yes," Zexthor said. "I am responsible for what happened here. Words cannot express my sorrow for your loss." "No, they can't," Lisa agreed. She turned back to the trees. "These 3 are my sister and my nephews. Danny was 6. Bobby was 4. They liked bugs and drawing pictures. My sister taught them to read. They were good kids." Zexthor had no words. In his culture, when great shame was felt, silence was appropriate. He stood with Lisa and Jake among the trees, saying nothing. After a long time, Lisa spoke again. "Are you going to make sure this never happens again?" "I will," Zexthor promised. The Krellian Empire is issuing new protocols. All civilian populations of all species are now protected under our military code. The punishment for violating this code is death. No exceptions. Good, Lisa said. She bent down and continued planting flowers. Over the following months, things changed. The Krellian Empire withdrew from all human borders. They established a demilitarized zone between their space and human space. Admiral Zexthor personally oversaw the compensation payments to New Haven. They rebuilt Settlement 3 with Krellian resources and technology. Emma Blake organized the reconstruction. Ben Carter helped with the farming. Slowly, the colony healed. Scars remained, but life continued. 6 months after the incident, Admiral Foster returned to New Haven. He met with Admiral Zexthor at the Memorial Garden. The two military commanders walked among the trees. "I've been reading about your people," Foster said. "Your history. You've been a spacefaring civilization for 15,000 years. You've never encountered a species like us before, have you?" "No," Zexthor admitted. "Most species we meet are peaceful. They avoid conflict. When pressed, they submit or retreat. Humans do neither." "We protect what's ours," Foster said simply. "Our people, our families, our way of life. We'll negotiate when possible, but threaten our civilians, and we become something else." Zexthor nodded slowly. "I have spread word throughout the Krellian Empire. Humans are now classified as Category 4, protected species. It means approaching human space requires special authorization. Harming humans carries severe penalties, and harming human civilians is considered an act of war against the entire human race." "Will others follow your example?" Foster asked. "Some already have. The Vortan Collective issued similar protocols last month. The Hive Worlds are considering it. Word spreads quickly in the galaxy. Humans are small in number and young as a species, but you have something that frightens the old empires." "What's that?" "Conviction," Zexthor said. "You truly believe that every individual life matters. You'll go to war to protect strangers. You'll cross the galaxy to avenge civilians you never met. Most species don't understand that. They see populations as numbers, resources. You see people." Foster stopped at one of the trees. He read the name carved in the stone. Danny Chen, age 6. "Every life matters," Foster said quietly. "Every single one. That's not just our strength, that's who we are." They stood in the garden as the sun set over New Haven. Two admirals from different worlds, united by a terrible lesson. In the distance, children played in a new park. Life continued. The scars would fade, but the memory would remain. The galaxy had learned something important about humanity that day. They were not the strongest species, not the most advanced, not the oldest, but they protected their own with a dedication that bordered on the sacred. And they would make anyone who forgot that lesson remember it permanently. Admiral Zexthor looked at the trees one final time before leaving. 47 trees for 47 lives. A monument to the cost of underestimating humanity. He would make sure every Krellian cadet learned this story, would make sure they understood the price of cruelty. As his ship lifted off from New Haven, Zexthor realized something. He had come to this planet as a conqueror. He was leaving as something else. A friend, perhaps, or at least someone who understood. The humans had taught him that strength without honor was worthless. That power without compassion led only to ruin. And they had taught him never, ever to threaten their civilians.